Okay, so Janie's going to go first and tell us a little bit about herself.
Okay, hi everyone. My name's Janie Miller. I've been involved in sport all 4 years at uni, predominantly in the hockey club. So I've spent 2 years on the hockey committee, both as first team captain and this year as vice president of the club. I've also been involved in the sports union committee for 2 years, so got really good experience dealing with the sports union, both from a club perspective and from the sports union side of things as well. So going into next year, if I was elected, be a few key things I'd be looking to change. So one main problem I found while speaking to other clubs is the playing kit. So I found a lot of clubs have found that their playing kit has arrived very late this season, and they've not necessarily been able to represent Aberdeen in their full kit like we'd like every Wednesday for Bucks games. So going into next year, looking at developing a plan to make sure that's not such an issue for clubs. Also, the ASV are looking to develop their new Phase 3 plans. So making sure that students have got fair usage of ASV facilities at times that suit students and not unsociable hours, to make sure we get the best out of ASV in our partnership with them as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Janie. And before Alice goes and introduces herself, just a very quick question. If anyone in the crowd has any antihistamines, we'd be very, very grateful. Antihistamines? Just if, yeah. So any meds against allergy? Oh, there we go. See, this is the reason why microphones are great. Okay. So we're just going to carry on now and listen to Alice tell us a little bit about herself in 60 seconds, please.
Hi, my name's Alice McClellan. I have been, last year I was the vice president for netball, and this year I've been the president for netball, so I've been very heavily involved in running a club. My manifesto is very much about more opportunities for students out with the sports club structure, and getting more people involved in sport. I've also, for the past years, been working with active schools as a volunteer coach in the local community, and I would really like to get more students involved in volunteer coaching.
Good. Thank you guys very much. So we're going to go straight into the questions that you're very familiar with by now. So the first one is about communications between AUSA and the student body. And it's how would you get our message out there better and get student buy-in on our activities? And I'm going to start with Alice and then go to Janie.
With sports, we're quite lucky that we have the sports fair, so that's a very good way to get freshers engaged. Also, I would like to launch a health campaign, so go out into the campus and promote a healthy living and with exercise. I'd also like to offer different ways to get people into exercise, so not just through clubs or sports, but actually exercise classes on campus.
Thank you, Alice.
Okay, I'm going to come at this from specifically a sport point of view here. So I think what's really important is we have so many sports clubs on campus, and every Wednesday most of them compete in matches or fixtures. So we're all part of Team ABDN. So I think communicating each club's fixtures, so whether that's through the Facebook page or perhaps somewhere in ASV where you can go and see which team is playing at which time on which pitches across campus, so we can go and support one another, each other's fixtures, so not just necessarily within the hockey club or the netball club, but across all the clubs that we have, so we're all part of one big team. So looking at promoting all these fixtures through sort of Facebook pages, the Twitter accounts, and like I said, maybe an ASV where there's somewhere we can go and find out what's going on that day.
Good, thank you very much. And the second question is about our equality networks. We used to call them our liberation forums, and they are crucial to our missions and values. So what would you do to support them and make sure you incorporate their input into every project that your remit undertakes? Janie.
Sure. I think equality networks are really important. I feel like within sport generally, much wider than university, sport is often used to bring people together, and I think this is very key at university. It's such an easy way to get people involved out with their sort of normal social background, or as foreign students coming in and getting more involved in sort of the wider student culture. And so I think it's a really easy way to tap into sort of involvement across the whole student body. So just working with the sort of equality networks, making sure that their students know that there's opportunities for them to be involved in sports. So not just whether it's joining one club and paying your subs, but also things like the intramural leagues are a great way to get involved in different sports, meet new people every different week. So I think that's a good way of getting them involved. Thanks.
Right.
So yeah, I'd just like to echo Janie's sentiment about the non-competitive sport, so intramural sport. I think it's really important to really promote that so that more people can get involved. Also, just like one-off events, like recently Megan did a sports day for international students. I think it was football. So like stuff like that, so just like one-off events for different people to get together and really get involved in sport.
Good. Well, thank you guys very much. Again, reminder that we'll need questions for our candidates, so want to see some cards up if you still have any. If not, there's still some in the front, and also, of course, hashtag AUSA elections. Right, so your first specific role-specific question, coming from a student that I met yesterday in this very building, is that many of our sports clubs are performing very well. However, their lack of professional coaches is a barrier in going up in leagues. How would you go about recruiting more pro coaches to relieve the pressure of student volunteers? And I'm going to ask Alice to go.
Yeah, so this is one of my manifesto points, is really to help clubs obtain professional coaches. I'd like to contact local leagues to kind of see if there are people qualified to coach and really kind of get a database of people that want to coach. So kind of set that up and so that there's a reference for people to find coaches for their specific sport.
Right, cool.
Just kind of agree with Alice there. I think from a personal point of view, playing with the hockey club, we've recently managed to get a coach on board, and the difference it's made to not just our playing, but also just the club as a whole. It takes a lot of pressure off captains and presidents, etc. So it's really key going forward that these clubs that are performing well have the support they need to continue to do so. And I think coaches is definitely one of those points. So like Alice said, looking out into the local community, there's a huge Scottish sport community. So looking into them, getting contacts and just seeing to attract some of the top coaches to some of our teams that are performing at the highest level at the moment.
Good, thank you, girls. And the second question, before I move on to the floor questions, is something that we've already touched upon briefly, and it's on international students. So the student says, the number of international students involved in both participatory and elite sport is very low. What will you do to encourage them to get involved and reduce that attainment gap?
I agree. I think there is a massive underrepresentation of foreign students within the sporting community here at Aberdeen at the moment. However, I definitely think it's something that can be tackled going forward. So like we said, participatory sport as well is a really key way of getting people involved that might not have already been involved. It's a key way for them to come and meet students and then perhaps go into taking part in the much more sort of elite and competitive sports that we have here. So I think just marketing participatory sport to foreign students, to freshers, to everyone who's coming in as a way to get in and involved in the sports union as a first step. And from there, they can join clubs that they're more interested in or people that they meet and make friends. They can go along to their clubs and see what it's all about there.
Thank you. Alice?
So just exactly what I said before about like specific sports events for international students, and definitely at the sports fair, like really getting freshers in it. So like in their first year, they're then involved in sport. So possibly like give it a go sessions. So like make that a standard that every sport has a give it a go session where people can just come along. It's not trials. It's not like scary, because sometimes it can be very intimidating for new students to come into a sporting club, especially if they're coming from a different country. Just kind of give it a go sessions, like friendly, fun, getting people involved.
Good. All right, that's really good. Let's see if we have anything flowing in. There's something. There's at least two. There's still time for you guys if you want to contribute while we look at this. Oh, I take that back. You guys are very popular. Right, so let's see. The first one, I suppose, comes from Twitter. so I'm happy to see the hashtag so popular as well, is how will you tackle sports clubs' engagement with local community and manage unacceptable behavior? Yeah, I can absolutely read that again. Yeah. So, how will you tackle sports clubs' engagement with the local community and manage unacceptable behavior?
Okay, so from being involved in the Active Schools project, I have quite a few contacts for the coaching coordinators within the community. So really pushing to get volunteer coaches from sports clubs. And creating a communication with the Active Schools programme. For unacceptable behaviour, we are quite lucky that we have events such as sports balls and super teams in Granite City, and make it clear that if there's any unacceptable behaviour within sports, that they will be banned from these events. And if there's really serious unacceptable behaviour, then possibly cancelling training and disbanding clubs. But hopefully it won't get to that point.
Okay, optimistic? Yeah, of course I can. So the question is, how will you tackle sports clubs' engagement with the local community, so immediate residents, for example, and manage unacceptable behavior?
One of the points in my manifesto is actually about engaging the local community. So I think a good way to do this is through sort of charities. So I know there's a lot of sports clubs out there at the moment that are heavily involved in charity work. They do their own fundraising for charities, clothes drives, etc. So I think just promoting that across all sports clubs within the local community is a great way to do it, and advertising that to the local community. You know, sports clubs aren't just going out, getting drunk, causing havoc. They're doing really good things for the community through their charity work. And I think promoting that across all the sports clubs and ensuring that there's sort of support for them to do so is a really good way of sort of showing the community our worth as a sporting association. In terms of the sort of bad behaviour side of things, I think, like Alice was saying, we're very privileged to represent the university as sporting teams and take part in a lot of these extra events that aren't just, your normal Wednesday fixtures or training sessions. So I think there's a lot of things there that, people are privileged to take part on, and if they abuse that privilege, unfortunately, you would have to take that away from them. But like Alice said, hopefully that never gets to that point.
Okay, good. Thank you guys very much. Another question coming from Twitter is that it is currently unacceptable for student sports teams to train at certain times in the sports village. How will you ensure students get the prime training spots that were promised?
Okay. I think what's key here is with ASV, so Aberdeen Sports Village, it's a 50-50 partnership with the university and the council. So going forward, it's about working with them to ensure that the students still get their 50-50 say. They get to use the sports village at times that are appropriate for them, and not, like I said earlier, these antisocial hours that some clubs are unfortunately having to train during. So it's about working with ASV going forward, especially with this new phase 3 development, like I mentioned earlier, that we have this in writing, that it's written down that we get our fair share of the best facilities at the times that suit our students.
Alice?
Yeah, so just exactly what Janie says, especially with the new facilities opening, hopefully we'll be able to get more social hours for training. But yeah, it's just kind of putting my foot down with ASV and fighting for the good training times, and really not letting them just dictate to us that and go over their 50% of the share.
Good, okay. So another question I have here is, some sports, for example paintball, have not been given sports status and are instead run as a society for the moment. How will you help these smaller groups to be recognized as a sport?
Sorry, can you do that?
Yeah, of course. So I'm just a bit slow because I always have a bit of a problem reading handwriting, but... So, some sports, for example paintball, have not been given sports status and are instead run as a society for the moment. How will you help these smaller clubs to be recognized as a sport? So to transition, I suppose,
Well, we can look at ways to get them into sport. I don't know if it's the concern of facilities to train in, or something like that. But if that's the case, then definitely like really trying to see if there's times that we can slot them into the training structure, and yeah, just really trying to support them as a sport, and start to get them into the transition to become a sport or recognised as a sport.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's all about making sure that any sort of club or society that feels they should be recognised as a sport has the opportunity to come forward and make their case for being a sport. So if they've got really good reasons why they feel they should be recognised as a sport and part of the sports union, if they train and they've got the opportunity to take part in sporting events and sporting matches, then the sports union are obviously absolutely there to support them. So if they have a case, they can bring it to the sports union, and hopefully we can then transition them into becoming a full member of the sports union and a recognised club.
All right, so I have here the final question for you guys. And it's also from Twitter. And the question is, how do you plan to get transgender students involved in sports in gender-specific sports teams? So just, I can read it again? Or yeah? No, exactly.
It's not something that I've specifically looked at in my manifesto, but like we were saying earlier, with involving all the equality networks. So working with them about finding out what they need going forward. So specifically transgender students, what it is they need from the sports union to support their members of their equality network, integrating into the already recognised sporting teams. So it's really about working with the equality network to find out the best way going forward that's going to suit their students and the existing sports clubs to make sure that when that does happen, that they come together and everyone's feels they're represented fairly.
All right, thank you, Alice.
Yeah, absolutely. So just now, I suppose we could like start it on like a kind of case-by-case scenario, like a solution, like orientation, and then hopefully get it standardised so that when people coming into the university then want to join a sport and they're male or female identifying, then they get the opportunity to do that.
Good. Well, thank you, girls, very, very much. Thank you for everyone for all the questions. And I guess just the final thing is to ask you both to give us a bit of a closing remark. Tell us why you really want this job. Tell us why we should vote for you. So if we want to start with you, Alice, and then Janie.
So I really like getting involved in sport. I like enabling people to get involved in sport as well, like creating opportunities for people to really find a home at university and not just come here for the education, but also have somewhere to let off stress or just find friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I just really love being able to help people get to that point. And yeah, vote for Alice. Hashtag Alice McClell can.
Janie?
First of all, thank you for everyone who's stayed around this long to listen to me and Alice talk about our manifesto points. Why I want this job, we've heard this word a lot on the stage tonight, but passionate. I'm very passionate about sport, and I've found whilst being at uni that I'm also passionate about representing the wants of the students as well. So whether it's through individual club committees or the wider sports union committee, making sure that people are getting what they want from their sport, and it's not just about us dictating what you get from sport, but people are really enjoying it. I really feel like I can do a good job in this, so next week when elections come around, please vote. This is your chance to have your sort of say about who represents you next year. So hashtag be brainy, vote for Janie, and get involved.
Ooh, okay, thank you guys. Thank you.